Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, as many of you probably already know, open warfare has broken out between two of the biggest figures in conservative media. That would be Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro. And actually, given the amounts of money that are involved here, you could rightly say these are two of the biggest figures in media, period. There is some real Game of Thrones stuff going on here. I will walk you through the top line details, but for those who haven't been following along, there are already a million videos out there analyzing claims and the counterclaims made by Crowder and made by Shapiro. You can decide for yourself whether Crowder is a brave warrior for the little guy or a Machiavellian figure, throwing his longtime friends under the bus for a bigger payday and more clout. You can guess which side I come down on there. Personally, though, what I'm really interested in are the broader implications here. What does this civil war say about the current moment in the Republican Party, about conservative politics, and about conservative media, all of which were, up until very recently, fairly unified ever since Trump first won the White House? So here briefly is the backstory. Last week, Steven Crowder released a video dramatically entitled, "It's Time to Stop," in which he produced a term sheet with an offer that he had received from a conservative media outlet. Now, the details of this he described as immoral and actually even likened to slavery. Take a listen.
And I don't just mean unreasonable demands for control, but what I would argue are immoral terms that actually punish conservative content creators on behalf of big tech. Kids out there coming up. We need to build a bench here in this movement. It's almost impossible. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. I don't have to be here. I don't have to say this. Please, don't sign this.
So Crowder portrayed the offer as proving that, quote, big con, the conservative media complex, was in the pocket of big tech doing their bidding. And he urged his viewers to send him, Steven Crowder, their email addresses at a new website in order to fight back against these evil forces. Now, he did not originally name the outlet that this offending offer came from, but it was almost immediately obvious that he was talking about Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire. Now, that outlet responded by sending out the company's CEO to go line by line through this term sheet, revealing that the offer Crowder had compared to literal slavery was for $50 million over 4 years. This led to another response video from Crowder where he played parts of a call that he had secretly recorded with said Daily Wire CEO, and finally a full response from Shapiro himself, who revealed a timeline which suggests very heavily that Crowder had planned this whole dramatic ploy for a number of months. In particular, Shapiro claims Crowder had already had this term sheet for months and had already registered the Stop Big Con website before he went ahead and set up that call with the Daily Wire CEO, which he then secretly recorded. Anyway, like I said, if you're curious about all the nitty-gritty details, you can watch the whole multi-hour back and forth yourself. You can see what any number of thorough analysis videos has to say about it. Now, I honestly wouldn't normally cover this kind of intra-creator drama, but the civil war between two giants of conservative media, it comes at a fascinating moment for the GOP. This war between Shapiro and Crowder, it feels like opening shots in a schism that is opening up in the Republican Party as Trump loses his full power and grip on the conservative flock. Now, since Trump took the White House and the Never-Trumpers fully exited the movement, conservative media and the Republican Party as a whole, it's really been pretty unified behind Donald Trump. There was a sense their movement was ascendant, and that despite some setbacks, they really had the libs on the ropes. That's not to say that none of these figures ever criticized the big man. I know Shapiro in particular did from time to time, but there was no alternative to Trump and no clear fissures to exploit for profit. Their dashed midterm hopes, though, seem to open up some wounds and some blame game. So Crowder has seized on a market opportunity to force open those new fissures. And make no mistake, fissures and divisions, they can be quite profitable. In the new media ecosystem, the size of your audience, of course that matters, but what matters a lot more is their level of dedication to you. Alex Jones here is a prime example. After being deplatformed basically everywhere and basically given the internet death penalty, Jones's overall audience numbers, of course, dropped significantly. But the remaining viewers became more diehard than ever, more committed, and reportedly through their purchases of supplements and survival kits and InfoWars merch and whatever else he is selling, Jones actually made more money post-deplatforming than he did before. So Crowder, who's of course a bottom capitalist, and like any good capitalist highly interested in the bottom line, He sees a real market opportunity here to exploit by positioning himself as the true movement leader, more principled in battling against big tech, more representative of the conservative masses than Shapiro's Daily Wire, which he labels the big con. Now, Shapiro is also clearly on Team DeSantis for the coming Republican 2024 primary, a posture that some Trump supporters are labeling as being establishment. As far as I know, Crowder hasn't really picked a side yet. He's praised both DeSantis and Trump, but everyone's going to have to make a choice, and they're going to have to make that choice pretty soon. Would make a lot of sense if Crowder ultimately went right from positioning himself as the true voice and defender of the conservative base, and by the way, as a side note, defending Kanye West on his Hitler-loving insanity, to then steadfastly backing Trump for the 2024 primary. After all, Trump's power might have slipped, but he is still very popular among Republicans and still the favorite to win the next GOP nominating contest. In fact, the latest polling has Trump beating DeSantis by 20 points in a divided primary field and 10 points in a head-to-head matchup. So this fracturing is most significant as a sign of the times, a sign that we have already arrived at a big split in the conservative movement as an ugly 2024 GOP primary looms. It is no accident. This comes on the heels of some nasty infighting in the Republican House caucus with regards to the election of Speaker McCarthy, including reports of a bathroom screaming match between Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and near fisticuffs on the House floor between Rebel leader Matt Gaetz and McCarthy loyalist Mike Rogers. Now, the dividing lines there were quite muddled by the fact you had Trump loyalists on both sides of the fight, but the fracturing and the squabbles, they tell the same story. The GOP unity of the Trump era is over. The only question now is the contours of the divides and who falls on which side. This is going to be ugly for the right, and plenty will be personal, gratuitous, petty, bad faith, etc. But unity, as we see right now on the Democratic side, with every single member bending the knee to leadership, that has its own kind of ugliness. It requires everyone to ignore or cover for the insanities, the corruption, the ugliness, and the lies in the name of team loyalty. It protects power for an existing set of failed leaders. It quashes all debate, the good faith and principled, as well as the bad faith and absurd. In a functioning democracy, battles of the sort that are breaking out on the right now, they can be healthy, they can be positive, they can lead to rebirth and renewal, rather than a festering quagmire that's maintained because everyone who has a voice is too afraid to challenge the status quo. But unfortunately, debates over the future of the Republican Party, in my opinion, have long ago lost any real content. Trumpism collapsed pretty quickly from any sort of policy agenda to loyalty tests, vibes, and aesthetics. That's how you can have Tea Partiers plotting to cut Social Security, posturing as MAGA at the same time as Trump himself declares that Social Security and Medicare cuts should be absolutely off the table. That's how you can have the supposed populist himself, Trump, having a giant tax cut for the rich as his single most significant achievement in office. So I fully expect the brewing war for the GOP to follow precisely the model we have just seen of Crowder versus Shapiro. It will be as ugly as Steven Crowder secretly recording calls from longtime friends and allies. It will be as absurd as claiming a $50 million contract is literal slavery, and as meaningless as two dyed-in-the-wool capitalists funded by billionaires posturing as true adversaries to corporate giants. And like with Crowder versus Shapiro, the amount of money involved, it will be truly shocking. Bottom line, it'll be a struggle for power and influence for the sake of power and influence, fought via manufactured proxy wars. There's really no side worth taking here. The only thing to do is grab the popcorn and enjoy the fireworks. Yeah. So that's my take, Sagar.
Interesting. Yeah,
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.